Hi, welcome to We Read Allegedly, where we're allegedly reading as many books as we say, which is not true for me currently, but maybe it is for everyone else. I'm joined, as usual, by Celeste.
Hello.
And John.
I hate my life.
Me too. Not really, actually. Not that I hate your life.
We like you alive.
No, I wasn't talking on that much. Life is lifing.
Well, don't you worry. We have a happy book to talk about today.
I know. Well, that's part of life lifing. It's been contributing to my life lifing and
oh no,
all the life therein.
Happy thoughts in this book.
I'm not Peter Pan, madam. I'm not gonna go to the second star to the left.
And straight on till morning. I've never actually read that, so.
What if I want to stay asleep? Brief side story. I tried to get the audiobook for that because I was like, I've never read Peter Pan. I want to read it. Cool. I got it from the library and
it is not Disney.
The recording audio was trash. Couldn't listen to it.
I bet you it came on cassettes.
This is all foreshadowing, everybody. I just want to put this out there that the audio book being trash is foreshadowing.
Let's get to alleged reads.
I also tried the audiobook read.
That's a special tool for later, John.
Yeah, that's a tool we'll use later. Oh, all right. Let's talk about alleged reads. Right. John, what you reading? What's up?
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my Audible because I wasn't expecting to be called on first.
Oh, well, I can go.
I like to switch it up.
Well, let's have Celeste go while I pull up my Audible to tell you what's new and unusual with me.
So I just started last night a book called Glorious Rivals, and it is the second book in the Grandest Game series, which is a Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and it is a YA. But this is a spin-off series from the Inheritance Games series, which was...
That's the brothers, right?
Which is... It's like if you took Knives Out and made it a YA book.
Did you talk about the first book in this series? Because I feel like we've had this conversation.
Probably.
Right.
It's a great series because I have started to really enjoy Jennifer Lynn Barnes. She writes a lot of YA, but it's not like it's not your stereotypical YA. So like you have the Inheritance Games, which is the brothers Hawthorne. You have The Naturals, which is like, John, what's that show your wife likes with the cops?
There's a few. Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds. It's like Criminal Minds, but for young adults.
Notably not cops.
I thought they were cops. Oh, I've only seen like 2 episodes. I don't know.
For some reason, my first thought was going to be Chicago PD, but I just didn't see you watching that show for some reason.
I would, but I don't have the time. So she wrote a whole series called Deadly Little Secrets, which was deep diving into basically messed up family drama. And so, but she writes these things really well. She's real clean. It's an easy, quick read. I've been reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson, so I needed something light. And this one just came out, so I started it last night. That and the book that I had been reading was boring, so I just DNF'd.
I had to go back and check. I read the first Inheritance Games book in 2022, so I remember nothing about it, except that I think I enjoyed it.
I think that's when it came out.
2020 is when it came out. Yeah. And I don't think I read anything after the first book because I don't know if they were out yet. I guess it had just come out.
Like I said, it's a good series as long as you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I remember liking the first book.
Which is impressive considering that you don't generally like YA.
I don't. I remember listening to it though, which does help.
Oh.
One of those things that Squid and I intersect on with our Venn diagrams. Not typically enjoying YA.
Every so often. Like Cinder. I went through Cinder so fast.
Well, although I do enjoy children's books, is what I've been finding lately.
Children's books are great.
Good kids' books, though, are.
Like, someone was asking about a children's book on the Discord, and I had shot them over to the Wayside School books by Lewis Sacker.
Oh, that was
such good books.
That was
I
my
still
friend
read
Tori.
those books.
We don't have them anymore, but we used to have all of them.
I just read that this year
Pinnacle.
for the first time.
They're so good. Which one did you read? Sideways Stories from Wayside School or Wayside School's Falling Down?
The first one?
Sideways Stories from Wayside School.
Yeah.
Classic.
So good. Start to finish, those books. I think
Mrs. Gorf isn't real.
Those books where the sidewalk ends were
yeah.
Like
it was definitely giving
cemented in my brain.
Shel Silverstein and Lewis Sacker. That's basically 4th and 5th grade for me right there.
I read Lewis Sacker, but never read Wayside Schools.
Maybe throw in a little bit of Gary Larson or Gary Paulson rather, because Wood Song and Hatchet were special as well.
And I didn't
Wood
read
Song,
this one
Dog
until
Song.
I was older, but The Phantom Toll Booth also is a book
that's on my list.
I've heard good things about it, but I've not read it.
Hey, we should do a kids episode.
You know, we could.
There's a second book in the whole series.
We could do a year of kids' books next year. That's always.
I would be down for that.
Sounds like a lot of kids' books. Maybe like a summer of kids' books, and then we can do episodes in the summer.
I mean, whatever.
Because that's when summer reading programs always are at the library.
We do our favorite kids' books. Okay, anyway, John, what have you been reading?
So I've been reading all the books. I've been trying to stay caught up with the books that we're doing on the podcast. So nothing extracurricular at this point. However, I did recently purchase 2 books.
What'd you get?
And I'm gonna let you two help me pick what I'm going to start reading. Okay. Because for our upcoming Stephen King episode that we got coming for The Running Man, that book was actually written under his pen name that he sometimes writes under, which is Richard Bachman, for the uninitiated. Well, right next to that on the Audibles, there was another Richard Bachman book that I've always wanted to read, which is called Thinner, which is people know as a Stephen King book now, but it was originally Richard Bachman. And then there is an Agatha Christie book that I've always wanted to read, which is And Then There Was None.
Oh, that one's good.
Do that one.
And Then There Were None?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over Thinner?
I've never read Thinner, but if Agatha Christie is an option, always go with Agatha Christie.
And the thing about it is I've been totally into that whole murder mystery scene recently,
and she's the one to go to for him.
Well, we've been, me and Celeste and Dallas and Bam have a side chat we just hang out in with each other, and recently I was into the whole murder on a train vibe, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about Murder on the Orient Express and stuff like that.
Was it Gone Girl on a Train?
Was it?
Or am I thinking of something else? Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
But anyway, I ended up finding a video game on the Nintendo Switch that's a kind of a point and click murder mystery on a train sort of thing like that does the whole mystery plus comedy sort of thing.
So the classic Nancy Drew games that are point and click mysteries.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. That's totally what I'm into.
Hey,
listen,
Nancy,
those games were hard.
Has some good mysteries, y'all.
Oh, I'm not discounting Nancy Drew. You don't keep a series going that long and have a terrible series. So,
well, I don't know if they're all video games, though. I'm thinking specifically the video games I grew up with that were point and click computer games.
And that's fair because Sherlock Holmes books are great, but their video games are crap.
That's
Sorry,
fair.
Frogware.
I've never played them. Also, most of their movie remakes are pretty bad.
I like the Robert Downey Jr. ones, and I don't care what anybody has to say about it.
I did too. Okay. Well, Squid, what have you been reading?
Well, not a lot either, because I've also been trying to catch up on podcast books. But I figured, what a great way to make announcements on podcasts than with books I'm reading. So I'm currently reading Expecting Better, which is Pregnancy Wisdom, because I'm pregnant.
Yay!
Hey!
Mazel tov!
It's, a super exciting book to talk about. I've really enjoyed it, actually. I chewed through it in a day and a half. It's just written by an economist that got pregnant and was like, why are there no numbers involved with any of the things doctors are telling you? They're just kind of saying you should do this with no reasoning. So she wrote a book kind of going into the studies involved with all of the things you hear but don't really get any information about, like why you shouldn't eat sushi and not to clean your litter box, stuff like that. Actually breaks down how much of that is actually substantiated and how much isn't. So it's been very interesting, very good for removing some myths and stereotypes, and also good for keeping the fear of God in you about others.
Does JM not have to clean the litter box every time now?
Well, he still is, but technically, no, he doesn't, because we have pretty much zero risk from my cat. Solomon is old enough and is not an outside cat, so not a lot of risk from getting anything from him, but I shouldn't garden.
Although Kitty gives him plenty of opportunities to practice his spanking techniques.
Not a thing we're gonna need. So
no, for the listeners out there, Squid's cat likes to get its spankings in
does
mostly in opportunity moments during podcasts.
Yeah. He's needy. He's loud and needy, like a baby will be. So he's good practice. But yeah, that's what I'm reading. Not a whole lot else has been happening aside from the very quick catch up I did with Celeste, because I did finish the Red Rising series.
Yes. I expected you to talk about that.
And my opinion about the last book. My pregnancy book.
That's okay.
Yeah. My thoughts about the last book were similar to the first book, but the second book was great, so we should have read that one for the podcast.
Except for then you would have no context
for
the first book. For the second book.
It would have been very, very confusing. All next year, I say we only read book 2s, not book 1s.
That would be something different. I low-key want to get that book, but I'm scared that if I do that, people will be like, what you reading? Why are you reading
what
it?
Is that?
I'd be like, because I like information?
Yeah.
It's
very interesting.
Before it's needed?
It's true. And it does. It lays it out basically from pre-pregnancy to labor and delivery.
Nice.
So that's all in the labor and delivery section, which includes, information about cesarean sections and epidurals. And
all the things.
After the delivery, so on and so forth. I haven't gotten that far yet, but
apparently she's written a whole series.
Yeah, the reviews for the next ones didn't seem as good. But most of the reviews were kind of especially for the young childhood one, most of it was just these are all just kind of opinions. Because there's less, strong facts about the right way to raise a child.
Okay. Anyway.
All right, well, time to get into this book that I picked that I once again made everyone read and they probably hated.
Yada da da, yada da da.
So this month / the last 2 months, kind of. What are schedules these days?
We don't know.
That's what I say. We've been reading Beloved by Toni Morrison. And the description of this book says, Sethi, its protagonist, was born a slave and escaped to Ohio, but 18 years later she is still not free. She has too many memories of Sweet Home, the beautiful farm where so many hideous things happened. And Sethi's new home is haunted by the ghost of her baby, who died nameless and whose tombstone is graved with a single word, Beloved. Filled with bitter poetry and suspense as taut as a rope, Beloved is a towering achievement. And that's all the description, which is pretty good because this book can't really be described, I don't think.
I can describe it.
How would you describe it, John?
Uncomfortable.
It was an uncomfortable book. I would agree with that statement.
Boring.
Ooh, that might be the audiobook though for that one.
I legitimately upped it to like 175 speed.
I did try the audiobook briefly and I was like, this is too slow.
Too slow.
I'm gonna sleep.
Not only that, but the lady kept running out of breath at the end of every sentence and having to inhale again. And it's just
I think that's just how she talks.
That may be how she talks, but that's still bad narration.
That's fair.
That's when you hire somebody else to do it. Just because you're the author doesn't mean you're the reader.
I had
you know what I mean?
less issues with her narration than I did with the story.
Oh, I knew there was going to be problems with the story. Hi, everybody out there in listener land. I was traumatized by the movie version of this book that came out in the 90s. So I'm walking into this book with baggage already. But Squid and Celeste were forewarned that I have trauma associated with this book. So
I'm actually really proud that you read the book.
Yeah.
Even though you had trauma.
Well, I started it.
You did some of the work.
I started it and I got to a point where I'm like, I don't want to revisit this.
You have half a gold star.
I just kept waiting for it to make sense.
It won't.
It depends on what you mean by make sense.
Like, I understand what the author was probably trying to get at and what she was trying to say. I just feel like there was a better way to do it.
Yeah, potentially. I guess it depends on kind of what do you think she was trying to say.
Well, she was talking about slavery and how terrible slavery is and how human trauma causes issues. But it just, like, making it a ghost story, and then at one point, it was like, do you remember the scene in Night Film where it was like,
gotta go far back for that
right
one.
And another book that Squid enjoyed so much.
Well,
until the end,
it got weird,
I didn't hate it.
And it was like the cosmic horror stuff, and it was trying to explain the cosmic horror stuff.
That was not Night Film.
Yeah, it was.
Night Film was when they ended up like in a cave, right?
Night Film was where they ended up on an island.
They were in a greenhouse.
There was a greenhouse in there too, but that wasn't the end of Night Film.
Okay, maybe it wasn't the end. But at some point,
anyway,
it's been a while. That was one of our first books.
It's been a long time.
At some point, they were in the greenhouse and things just got really weird.
Oh, yeah, because he got drugged.
It felt like that.
I don't remember that part.
I felt like I had been drugged listening to this. It's like all three characters, including the dead person, were talking to each other. And I'm like, well, why?
Well, because they were all kind of there together.
They weren't.
Even Beloved was there.
They weren't. It wasn't a part of the chapter. It was an interlude.
Oh, like towards the end?
Yeah.
That was a tonal shift for those like 2 chapters. That was interesting.
That's not the word I'd use, but okay. I'm like,
I liked, I don't know, I liked those because I felt like it was a really interesting step out of what had been being described into like this weird, what's happening in your brain right now? How are you about to handle this?
I feel like I would have preferred the backstory of how they got to this home more than the fact that this woman was living with a ghost of her dead child.
Well, they did have the backstory of how they got there.
Yeah, but she's saying she would have rather the story been about that than what we got.
I see.
I did research and synopses and stuff on this to get the general idea of how the book was and how it was different from the movie. So I can participate in these conversations to a certain degree. I just did not want to re-experience the situations. But I will say that, yeah, there's part, like, that's been my experience even with the movie of this book. It doesn't leave you with any kind of I completely understand what just happened, and I'm glad that I experienced that. I was starting to kind of fall into that when I was started reading the book again. So I'm what I'm trying to say is I agree with you, Celeste, but there's more to it for me than that.
Right. Well, and again, this is not a book that I would read. I would watch the movie. Because it did have so much objectionable content.
This is true.
That it's easier to handle in book form.
I was thinking about it today. And I think that this story, I'm gonna put it like that, because my initial experience with this book was the movie, was what helped me realize when it comes to horror stories, there's basically two different types of horror. There's horror that's meant to shock you and make you afraid. Like, and that's your bog standard like slasher or ghost story. But then you have horror stories that are designed to make you feel uneasy and just uncomfortable while you're reading them. And the horror lies in the horrific things that happen within the story, which I think kind of lies in Squid's wheelhouse with some of
it's very Flannery O'Connor.
Like, I feel like my biggest, sorry,
no, it's cool, but so it's very much The Girl Next Door versus A Nightmare on Elm Street when it comes to these two different types of horror stories, and I think this is the latter of the two, and it's definitely not my flavor of horror. So if you're gonna read this, don't go like reading it looking for a fun experience.
Fun is not a word I would use for this book, although I did enjoy it. But I also think generally like the horror element story, kind of like reading Flannery O'Connor, where there may be like exaggerated pieces. By the end of this book, when they're talking about the ghost, it straight up says like no one actually remembered if they ever saw her or if this is just all stories they've told. Where to me, it read a lot more like Beloved was an embodiment of shame and grief being portrayed through a story.
In my mad dash to catch up and be able to do homework so I can still maintain parts of the conversation, I did read somewhere that the author had actually designed Beloved intentionally to kind of be representative of the nameless Africans who died during the slave trade, that they have no name or no humanity to be remembered, and so that it was supposed to be kind of a effigy in that sense. I don't think I'm using that word right, and I can't remember the actual literary term. So
I think that, in my opinion, which, as we know, I don't read academic books that aren't theological books on purpose. But I feel like that this author was mixing two genres, and it didn't go over well.
What two genres do you think she was mixing?
I think she was trying to mix a historical fiction and horror. And I didn't expect this to be a horror book.
See, and I don't think it was written like a horror book.
I know it had
elements of horror. It had elements of horrific things.
Yes.
But it wasn't a horror book. It was like reading Flannery O'Connor, where there are deeply disturbing things in it, but it's not a horror story.
We know my thoughts about Flannery O'Connor.
Yes.
But it was one of those things of, if it hadn't have been a ghost, or whatever it was, then like if it was just the mom dealing with the grief, or if the mom was the only one who could see it, or if the daughter, if it was she's talking, kind of like the Sixth Sense, where she's talking to it and you think that everybody sees it and turns out she's the only one. Well,
I think the thing is that her and Denver both live with it. So even if, you can call it a ghost or embodiment of, dead Africans from the slave trade, grief, shame, all of those things, but they're both living with it in some way. And it's their reactions at the end that are much different.
Well,
because that is kind of a family generational trauma that you're passing on.
But
so it's seeing it
but
all.
The guy
especially
also saw
grandma
it.
Baby.
The guy also saw it.
But he was also part of that quote unquote family because he's from Sweet Home.
Maybe I could see it, but it just, like I said, it wasn't a good historical fiction because it highlighted the wrong things. Like, if we want to talk about the trauma that happened after slavery for people, absolutely, let's get into that. If we want to do a ghost story or deal with something embodying guilt, then let's do that. But mixing the two of them together just did not work for me.
Yeah, I think that's just a personal taste thing because
Probably.
like I've seen it done in other books, maybe not necessarily to this degree where I've enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the book has won awards, so clearly somebody likes it.
It's largely, and the reason I ended up picking it, because like I was telling them when I actually read the content warnings for it, because I knew nothing about Beloved. I just knew that Beloved basically shows up on, I think, on like every top 100 books people should read in their life kind of lists.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, I've been meaning to read it. I'll put it on the list. It's kind of short.
And immediately I'm like, hey, Squid, I have some trauma with this book.
That book's terrible.
I'm like,
I think I figured out part of my issue. It's in the genre tag on Goodreads is magical realism.
Magical realism.
And I find magical realism very boring. Every book I've ever read with magical realism, where that's one of the main things, I've disliked it the entire time.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because I enjoy magic stuff. I take that back.
I think that might be why it is.
Well, it's possible.
Because I think you want the magic to be magic, not to be ingrained into the other parts of it, maybe.
I don't know.
I think it takes it adds a certain modernity.
No, that's not right. Mundaneness.
Yeah, it takes something that's supposed to be fantastic and it makes it mundane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that may be where where Celeste is running ashore with the magical reality or whatever it was called.
Magical realism.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, that.
But yeah, like that's just, I take that back. I didn't realize that this one was considered magical realism. I liked Wayward, but
I have seen the cover to Wayward.
It's got a crow on it.
Yes, I'm familiar with the cover of that book.
But yeah, that to me, seeing that tag on it makes me go, oh, I understand.
Speaking of content warnings, we should probably discuss that, being as some of our listeners are younger than us, and there might be some content advisories we should probably throw out there, because there is some unsavory content in this book.
Yes,
there is. I would say that if you are not in high school, senior levels, you shouldn't read this book. And if you are, check with your parents. See if they're good with it.
Yeah. Parental guidance is definitely needed on this one.
There are definitely some trigger warnings for this book as well.
Yes. Auntie Celeste says don't read it until you're at least 17.
I don't think Dallas could ever read this book.
Oh, no, he couldn't.
I have a feeling he would throw it across the room.
He wouldn't even attempt it because it says in the description that it's talking about slavery.
Oh,
he wouldn't. He can't. That is not a topic that he is okay with, even in an academic level.
So, where do we come in? Where do we come in on this book then? Because I've already made my view clear, and Squid, I believe you've openly said you enjoyed this book quite a bit.
I did enjoy this book. Again, this is not a book that I picked up and went, this was a happy, fun story. But I think it was a very important one. I think as opposed to what you said, Celeste, I think the fact that she embraced this topic of kind of the trauma of slavery and like grief and shame in a way that's different than just kind of making a historical book dealing with those topics up front, and instead introduced kind of this ghost story aspect. I think it was a really good way for her to do it, and a way that probably spoke to her and spoke to, how she embraces the topic and wants to communicate with it. So I'm not going to tell her it's wrong, because I don't have any connection to this topic in a way that I get to say how they should express it.
Legitimately, it won Nobel Peace Prizes.
Yeah.
So this is wholly my opinion, in that I did not enjoy reading it.
Yeah.
I will say this, Celeste. There's no explanation needed on that. Like, I've been told many times that wine is delicious, and it tastes like foot to me. So,
well, because I don't want to say,
what I'm trying to say is there are things in this life that people will say are refined and very good that some people just ain't gonna like, no matter how refined and good or expensive it is. I'm looking at you wine lovers out there.
If you put a snail on my plate, I'm gonna riot. But some people
I'll try anything
some
once.
people pay big money for that. I say let it stay out in the garden. I'm assault it and run.
Now I'm in the mood for
I don't think you need to run. I think you could just walk, actually, at a slow pace. Pace it. But
no, because
if you need to run,
the people trying to feed it to me.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Is who I'm running from.
Yeah, I think part of the things about books like this too are not necessarily that they're meant to be enjoyed in the same way that, as I was finishing Morning Star at the same time as reading this book, I was like, that's a book you can just pick up and enjoy reading.
Yeah.
I do think it talks about, again, very deep topics that I wish they touched on more, because he's making a book you enjoy, but also including topics like slavery, actually.
Yeah.
So it comes up a lot to be read in tandem with a book like this that's talking about slavery and is not necessarily meant to be enjoyed, but is meant to make you look at this topic and think about it in a new way, or in a different way, or in just the author's perspective's way. So that's one of those things I'm like, I find books like this to have value even if they don't have enjoyment factors.
Oh, 100%. This falls into that category, that Lewis Schaefer category that I so often put so many books in.
You mean Francis Schaefer?
Lewis Schaefer?
Sorry.
Who's he?
we were talking about Lewis Sacker earlier, and Francis Schaefer, the Francis Schaefer category of this is a good book, I do not like this.
Yeah.
There's a difference between something being good and something being enjoyed. But there's lots of room for stuff like this. Like you can throw a stone and hit a story somewhere that's going to fall into the category of a story that's not meant to be, quote, enjoyed.
Right.
I can name one as Christians that we've seen in theaters at least once in a church. The Passion of the Christ. No one whips that out and says, "Hey, who's down for some passion?" You know what I mean?
Well, I hope that's not what they say when they whip it out.
Wait, pause. That was not how. Oh no. Good night, kids.
Nothing gets me going. At church, no less. I'm done.
Oh no.
That's gonna go in the edit, isn't it?
Probably.
I should have picked Fireproof or something. That movie's meant to be enjoyed, but
it's not.
I just didn't enjoy it. Jeepers.
Anyway, what was your point, John? I got distracted.
The point is I should have said Schindler's List or something like that.
Yeah, Schindler's List is great.
Who's down for the list? But there are certain movies that are there that are made more in memoriam and as a method of remembrance, as well as artistic expression of remembrance. That, you know, if it's art, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make you feel good.
I think especially for movies like Schindler's List or books like Beloved that are talking about very real events in history that we don't want to see happen again. Yeah. That are not just remembering, but also
warning.
And here's what happens when you see that. Like, here's why we want to avoid it.
So I think I personally would not compare this book to Schaefer's Mindset because I don't think that it was well written. I think portions of it were well written, but not as a cohesive whole. But clearly I'm in the minority with that because, again, this book has won awards and it's on every list of you need to read it. So
you are not in the minority of Storygraph's reviews, though.
Really?
Because there's a lot of people that did not enjoy the book. For every 4 or 5 star review, there's probably like a 1 or 2 star review that's like, what the heck did I just read?
Well, I will say this as well, and I think this is a primary point we drive towards on the show quite a bit, is that it's okay to have opinions that are contrary to everybody else. Well, if you don't like something, don't like it. If you like something, like it.
And I the only reason I said that is because I would not recommend this book to anyone. There are books that I didn't enjoy that I'm like, you know what? You might like that. I didn't like it, but you might like it. I honestly can't say that I'm ever going to go, yeah, you should read that. Because there's other books to me that highlight it better if someone was wanting to get perspective. So,
do you know any off the top of your head that we could put in this episode?
Let me go through my list on Goodreads because I've read, like, I find this time frame in history fascinating, if that makes sense, because I like to understand what people have gone through. So I read quite a bit of stuff. What is the name of that one? There's one, I can see the cover in my head.
You can always just read Dread Nation.
Is that about Judge Dredd?
No, it's set during the time of slavery in Gettysburg, but she's a zombie hunter, and they train their slaves to be zombie hunters. So, you know.
So, to me, there's another one. 2 books in particular really highlight these time frames in history, not necessarily this specific thing, because there are some things that were specific to the book that are not tropes, so you don't see them in other books. But one is called The Kitchen House, and it's about a girl who was raised with the slaves, but she's a white girl, and so she's having to come to grasp with the fact that her adopted family isn't loved by anyone else. And it sounds like it's just fluffy, but it really dives into some of the themes that are really good, and it shows perspectives that are very interesting.
Mama Squid rated that one 4.5 stars.
Very good. Very good. And then also just in general, talking about trauma, just in general, is Where the Crawdads Sing.
That is certainly got a lot of trauma.
A lot of trauma. Well, again, because if we're delving into the historical aspects of it, The Kitchen House does a really good job. But if we're talking about the traumatic aspects of it, like just trauma in general, then Where the Crawdad Sings does a great job with that.
Also, wouldn't 10 Years a Slave be another one that you could throw in there on that as well.
I've not read that one yet.
I haven't read it. The movie was really good.
I haven't read it either, but
it's got very good reviews too.
See, my thing is I typically stay out of these types of point of views because I've been told that I have no business in these types of point of views, so I try to respect
I disagree with that.
I also...
You have perhaps no business writing from that point of view.
Yes.
That's different.
Oh,
so that's a conversation for another day, though.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think, especially reading a book like Beloved has value because I don't know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And even, I mean, I'm not sure. Let me check before I make an assumption. I was going to say, I would guess that the one who wrote The Kitchen House is also not a black woman. Which she is not, because I had to Google it first to see.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, but another thing that I think it is also helpful to read stories about this time period from black authors as well, to get that kind of perspective. Because again,
I've definitely, those two are.
Which I think 12 Years a Slave.
Those two books are ones that I have read in the nearest future. A lot of what I read nearest future. Good Lord, nearest his past.
Near recent
history is what I'm trying to say, people. So they're the ones that I can remember the names, but I've definitely, again, what's the Help? The Help was a good book. There's also, if we're just talking about racism in general, there's also, what's the one where they're the mathematicians?
Oh.
And they help get people to the
rocket movie.
Mm-hmm. Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hidden Figures.
For some reason when you said the rocket movie, all I could think was the Billy Bob Thornton astronaut movie.
What?
Jeepers.
I don't know why that's what came to mind.
What was that? Space Cowboys? Is that what that was?
Oh God. No. Hidden Figures is about the civil rights movement from the perspective of 3 black women.
Right. I know I'm familiar with the movie. It's just she said Billy Bob Thornton.
The Astronaut Farmer is the movie that came to mind for me.
I'm just trying to get us back on track here.
I'm sorry. I
think we lost track with Passion, so.
It's like Hidden Figures, I do think would probably be up there. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard good things about that one.
It deals
12 Years a Slave.
It deals with a different time frame, but
yeah. And 12 Years a Slave is a nonfiction memoir. So that one would also be a good one to read, but a different kind of story.
So like I don't remember why we got onto this topic.
Squid had
you were saying there were other things that did better.
Yeah, Squid had challenged you to rattle off some books that did it better.
That's right.
And you did that.
And then we went from there.
Whereas books on racism for me have tendency to kind of hit me hard a little bit because I've been told, I have a illegitimate fear that, every people who is not white already hates me because of white people. So these books have a tendency to kind of compound that for me quite a bit. Like reading Lovecraft Country, which was another one that did some damage on my psyche for the whole racism front, was another book that really hurt me. And that one's less magical realism and just outright Lovecraftianism. But
See, I always find it helpful to kind of talk about those things more because it helps remove some of the stigma and make it a broachable conversation.
Right. And I think part of it is just kind of with me and my situation, like the topic broached, as I know I'm kind of tap dancing on lines we generally don't go to in Geek Devotions, but whenever the topic of it is broached from that particular point of view, it's typically hit from you're part of the problem because you're white perspective, whereas my family didn't come to the US until 1913, so no. But you can't really reply like that because that you're not trying to denigrate the point they're trying to make, but in the same sense, it's just like, it just makes me feel uncomfortable because I feel like, I don't know, I can't quite put a finger on it, and so I just choose to avoid it, if that makes sense.
That does. It does make sense. So, and I don't want to get too much into this topic, just because we do try to keep things very
all right.
general.
Well, whoever edits can cut that out, but it was just.
I mean, I don't think it has to get cut out. Especially when we're reading a book like this, I think it is an important thing to be open about and talk. I mean, we're not being anything crazy. And if anyone has thoughts they want to send us, we have an email address.
Mm-hmm. I think at some point, because we have put wheels in place to do this, it just no one's pulled the trigger on it yet. But me and friend of the podcast, Carlos Renfro, have made the decision to read Lovecraft Country together and have a deeper conversation on those topics. So if you're interested in hearing more, look forward to that episode.
Yes, if Carlos ever stops working.
Well, and I have to gear myself up to be re-traumatized by that book again.
It's fair.
I have it on my list.
Hey, if you read it, you could do that episode with Carlos and I, although I don't think you'll be asking the same types of questions I would.
But sometimes it helps to get multiple questions.
Mm-hmm. Hey, sometimes that does help.
So, okay. Well, did anybody but me get a spiritual speculation?
Oh, heavens. Probably, but I didn't write it down, so no.
John?
I mean, there's an inherent one where Beloved doesn't go away until at the very end when Whoopi Goldberg makes amends with all the people in her community.
Ooh, not how it happens in the book.
Mm-mm.
With an ice pick, she does, but not.
I'm trying
There are no amends made.
Okay, well, I'm going to just shut my mouth then and be like, "Hey."
This is why I'm curious to watch the movie, because I want to see how they portrayed this.
And I could be misremembering it too.
I mean, that feels like a way they would end a movie,
right?
To kind of put a nice bow on it instead of being like, and she went crazy.
That does tap dance on my spiritual speculation, though.
All right, well, go ahead, Celeste. I'll just take my diseased point of view elsewhere.
No one said that.
No, I was saying diseased as in it's from a movie. I'm misremembering it from a movie, and it could possibly be entirely incorrect.
Okay.
It's been infected.
Okay, well, throughout the entirety of the book, Beloved is there and talking to these people, and she's allowed in the house because they're trying to be a good person, but she really gains a foothold because they realize what she is. What they think she is. To me, she was much more representative of how if we don't forgive ourselves for things, like if we don't go to God for forgiveness, and then we don't in turn forgive ourselves for what has happened, it allows things to slip into our lives that are malevolent. At the end, I don't remember how to say the mom's name, but the mom was wasting away. She was only eating because of Denver. She wasn't doing anything. She wasn't going to work. She was just at home in her grief, in her what she thought was a representation of her forgiveness, but truly it became her bondage. And so we have to, when things happen, when you mess up, when you do something that you regret, as believers, we're supposed to go to God for forgiveness. And if we can, go to the person that we've done this to. I mean, it's kind of hard once they're dead, but but then you also have to forgive yourself. So
that also made me think of one that I had, because I went to look for that passage and then did find a page I had bookmarked.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
But this is when near the end, when we get kind of just Paul D's story, which I found a really interesting part of the book. So I was like, all of a sudden we're just getting Paul D's life here now. Okay. And he talks about when he's on Sweet Home and school teacher had like caught them before they were running away, and how he, like, for the first time hears people talking about his worth, and he knows it now down to the dollar of what he is worth: weight, strength, heart, brain, so on and so forth. And it like ruins him for the rest of his life, essentially, because all he can think about is this number of what he's worth. And that's kind of a thing that, you know, when you're apart from Christ, there are a lot of things that will and even when you're in Christ, there are a lot of people and things that will tell you what your worth is. And they may use dollars to describe it, or they may use the things you do, or your work, or, you know, any number of other things that are irrelevant, essentially, to your life and what worth you actually have, and how that answer is really just found in Christ, and only in Christ. And we don't need to be weighed down by all these other expectations of what our worth is. And that movie joke really did give me an asthma attack, so I'm breathless now.
Sorry. It was poorly thought out.
But funny.
Okay, well, I think that might be it. So, if everyone is okay with it, I'm going to go ahead.
She wrote.
Ahead and say so long and thanks for all the fish.
Bye.
Goodbye.
We Read Allegedly is part of the Devoted Geeks Network, devoted to letting you know that you're loved. Join us every first Saturday of the month as we read a new book. Next month, we're going to read The Boats of Glen Carrig by William Hope Hodgins. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Please like, rate, and subscribe if you're a fan of the show. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Oh my God.
Oh.
Who's ready for some passion? Next movie night, I know what I'm picking.